everyone, it's Justin.
Scott.
And Matt.
Three dads again from Australia, and we're coming to you today with one of our Which Would You Choose videos, a Kia Sportage or Hyundai Tucson. Okay gents, as you probably know, both the Sportage and the Tucson are very popular 5-seat SUVs in Australia, but they're pretty much the same under the skin, aren't they? Because they share the same engines and drivetrains, right?
Absolutely, and they're very important to the overall car sales and stuff to both brands, right? So they're real ones they focus on.
Yeah, and it's because both Hyundai and Kia actually are sister companies, aren't they? So they share a lot of technology and all that.
Absolutely.
So that's right. Now, the Sportage that we recently reviewed was a front-wheel drive 2-litre petrol model, while the Tucson that we reviewed had the impressive 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel with all-wheel drive, didn't it? Yes. Now, because we recently reviewed both of these in detail, if you want to check out those videos, you can click where?
Up here.
And up there. Okay, I'll have to put them in. Okay, it's fine. However, both cars also come with the option of a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, and that comes with a 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, automatic manual, and all-wheel drive. So you can get that as an option. That puts out about 132 kilowatts and 265 newton meters of torque, as opposed to the 8-speed automatic and turbo diesels, 137 kilowatt and 416 newton meters. So there's 3 kind of engine options you can get in these cars, isn't it? So I thought today we'd get one of each with the turbo diesel and the 1.6 turbo petrol, and we'll do a quick video just to see which engine drivetrain might be the best way to go if you're looking at both cars, eh?
Yeah, great.
Now, gents, the Sportage that we have today, right, is a mid-range SX Plus model, which I think we both agree is probably the best value for money version in the Sportage range, right? Yep. And in turbo diesel form, all-wheel drive, it has a list price of $46,900. It's got a lot of good family-friendly features such as powered tailgate, which you always like. Yep. It's got artificial leather trim, front heated and powered driver's seat, 19-inch alloy wheels, smart keyless entry, and a Harman Kardon sound system. So
which is very impressive. I've tested that out, and it gets the thumbs up.
Good features. Okay, but the Tucson that we have today is a top-of-the-range Highlander model. With the N-Line Sports option package, and it's got the 1.6 turbo petrol drivetrain, and it's got a list price of $51,400. But when we previously reviewed the Tucson, we tested a mid-range N-Line Elite model, which I guess at the time we also thought was probably the sweet spot in their range. And it has a list price of $45,400 in the 1.6 litre petrol turbo form. And it's got a similar spec to the Sportage SX Plus. So at $46,900 for the Kia and $45,400 for the Hyundai, I reckon they're pretty close, right?
Yep, absolutely. So, yep, $1,500 or so in between it.
Anyway, now that you guys have had a chance to drive both cars this week, okay, I thought we'd have a quick chat just to see what you think about them based on 3 criteria today, okay? Number 1, your driving impressions. Number 2, value for money impressions. And number 3, X factor, okay? So we'll start off with driving impressions. Number 1, performance, petrol versus diesel. What are your thoughts? Scott, maybe you go first.
Coming into this, I definitely thought the petrol was probably going to be the best deal, just for running around the city doing everything. But what I found is definitely the diesel was by far the smoothest, quietest, best performing engine around the city when the driving I've done so far.
Matt?
Yeah, so I came in thinking that the diesel would be the preference in the conditions that would typically drive them in around the city, around town, start, stop. 2-litre turbo diesel, I've got that sort of format in one of my cars.
Okay.
And I find it exceptionally great around town. And it lived up to that expectation when I did a back-to-back comparison against the two. The petrol engine's definitely more revvy, but what I found was when you're going through the acceleration and that sort of start-stop, the extra sort of delivery of the torque from the diesel outshone. So
it never felt like the diesel to me was working hard, whereas the petrol, there was a bit of a lag in getting started, and then it was a bit, as you said, revvy. I agree. There was a bit of noise coming there, like it was working harder than it needed to.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you think the transmission makes a difference in the two cars? Because I know that's an 8-speed normal automatic, but that one is a 7-speed dual clutch transmission that's like a manual auto sort of thing.
If anything, I would think that the gearbox would detract from the diesel experience.
Right.
DCT typically would shift faster, but I found the gearbox and the engine matched up beautifully. So.
You agree?
Yep, I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. What about in terms of ride, handling, steering? Is there a difference between the two?
Matt, you want to take this one, mate?
Thanks. So, I actually thought the Hyundai would be superior in that it's part of the N-line range of Hyundai, which I've found, and we all agree, has been a fantastic platform for handling across their whole range. But I was pleasantly surprised in that the Kia I found just outshone in every department. It was more comfortable, it felt more connected to the road, it felt more compliant. And also the steering input just seemed like it was more suitable for Australian driving conditions.
You agree, Scott, or not?
I do. I think they're similar, right? They're closer.
Yeah, because underneath they're essentially
that's
the same
right.
car.
So
Yeah.
I think we're probably splitting hairs a little bit, but we've had the option of driving them close, all week, back to back. So you notice this thing. If you're going to buy one or the other, you're probably not going to notice after the first 5 minutes of driving. But I do agree with Matt though. This one was definitely, the Sportage was nicer to drive, a little bit more compliant, and did feel a bit more connected with the road.
Yeah. I found it noticeable that like Kia has spent the time and effort to tune the car specifically for Australian conditions, whereas Hyundai I think used like a global sort of tune for their car, for suspension tune, and it is noticeable. It does suit our conditions really well. So okay, in terms of interior design, ergonomics, dash instrumentation, between the two, which do you think, Scott?
I'm really starting to enjoy the Kia setup that they've got across their range, and this one's no exception. I think it's got a lot of wow when you walk, you first sit in it with the big wraparound screen. It's quite large. It's easy to toggle between things. I found it very intuitive. Nothing wrong with the Hyundai in terms of its screen. It's a little bit smaller, also pretty easy to use.
Yeah, the Sportage does have a bigger touchscreen. It's 12.3 inches versus 10.25 in the Hyundai, but does an extra 2 inches make a difference?
I think in terms of impression, when you first get in the car, it does. Yes.
Okay.
Makes all the difference to me.
All right, okay.
Anything that helps.
Okay, Matt.
More from a
Let's just get over that one, okay? All right, fine. In terms of the interior design, what do you think between the two?
Yeah, I agree with Scott completely. Nothing detracting from the Hyundai design language as such, but there's small things like the steering wheel I find more comfortable and more intuitive on the Kia. The dash layout, for sure.
You'd give points to the Kia over the Hyundai, would you?
In the Kia I would definitely think that the dash layout and also the infotainment system seems to be a bit more user-friendly, and it has that sort of like slightly wow factor. So I think it's sort of interior-wise, it has the edge over the Hyundai.
I think the infotainment systems are essentially the same in the car, but
yeah, I think just having that extra screen size, however big the screen difference is.
Size does matter, does it?
It does in this case.
Okay, all right, gents. Between the two, which is the more fun to drive, Scott?
I think that, fun and SUV. You always get me with this one, right?
No,
it's really hard for me to...
We look at fun and family-friendly cars.
Yes, we do.
If you had to choose between the two, which do you think's the more fun?
I've got to say neither is really a fun car to drive. I was looking at this from more the perspective of just trying to do the daily family routines around the city.
Yeah.
This one is much nicer drive day to day, just because it's smoother, quieter. I think you're going to enjoy driving this one more than you will the Hyundai. So I think the Kia gets the tick for me. Probably neither of them is hugely fun.
Okay, Matt, do you agree or disagree?
trying to split hairs with this one. When the Hyundai was in sport mode and it was revving a lot, it was great. But then it detracted from the throttle response, which detracted from the driving experience. Where the Kia was more of an all-round. It does everything very well. Again, I agree with Scott. It wasn't, out of this world fun as such, but it was very enjoyable to drive. I enjoyed it. Every part of it was great. Accelerating from the lights, all that was. This had a very narrow window of fun.
Okay, well, I'd probably have to say I felt more confident driving the Kia than the Hyundai in terms of handling, and to me, that's fun. Like if you can even at slower speeds, whatever, you can flick the car around and enjoy it. The Kia's got my vote for that, because that suspension tune is just put it a little bit above what this car is. So yeah. Okay, in terms of value for money, in terms of equipment, and thinking of this one as an elite model, not the Highlander and SX Plus. Just a couple of little things which I want to just mention to you, just to see at the end what your thoughts are on it. Look, QI charger, that's something that's really good these days. So the lack of cables in your car. I mean, both cars have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, but they are cable operated. But in Hyundai's case, every Tucson gets a QI charger, so you don't have to plug it in. With the Kia, unfortunately, you've got to go to the top of the range GT line model. However, in the Hyundai, you can get the N-Line package, as we said, which is like a sports body kit, 19-inch wheels, the seats, like they've got Alcantara, everything like that. The Kia doesn't have sort of like a sports kit available to it, so that's one thing for the Hyundai, I suppose.
Yes.
Now, in terms of sound system, that's something that people look at, and you're in the car for a long time, aren't you? Sportage gets the Harman Kardon sound system and a power tailgate as well. You don't get that on the Elite. You just get a standard sound system. You don't get a powered tailgate. So, having a think of those features that you've driven the car during the week, what do you think between the two of them, Scott?
I think this is a really big value for money segment. So both cars are good value. Let's just start there. I don't think we're sort of splitting hairs again, because they are definitely good value, both of them. You're not getting ripped off if you buy either of these. But again, I think just because of the amount of boxes that the Kia's ticked, and with some of the extras it's got, it's missing a couple of things, but I think this is still, for me, the most value for money, the Kia. Yep.
Matt?
I agree.
Okay.
I have to agree. And there is more. The aesthetics-wise, it's all subjective, right? So having the different wheels and the different body kit is great to have. It's nice to have, but those key elements you usually use the stereo frequently.
Every day, don't you?
Yeah.
All the everyday features. Yeah.
Exactly. The tailgate you'd use most trips as well with a car like this. So I think value for money, this has, again, as Scott said, more boxes ticked, and it just makes a more compelling all-round package.
Okay, all right. Guys, in terms of running costs, now this is the interesting one. I did a bit of a deep dive into both cars here. Like the diesel has a 6.3 litre per 100 kilometre combined fuel consumption.
Yes.
Whereas the petrol has the 7.2 litre per 100 kilometre combined fuel consumption. But in Sydney today, diesel is more expensive than petrol. Like,
it is.
At the moment, it's $2.45 a litre for diesel, and it's still about $2 a litre for premium unleaded, isn't it? So that's one thing to consider. Warranty is another thing. Hyundai has a 5-year unlimited K warranty for their car, but Kia has a 7-year unlimited warranty, K warranty on their car, right? In terms of servicing the two cars, diesel, it's every 12 months or 15,000 Ks, but the 1.6 turbo petrol, it's every 12 months or 10,000 Ks to do it. Okay, so bearing that in mind. But finally, servicing costs. This is the interesting bit. With Kia, they have a cap price servicing plan, and looking into that on their website, for let's just say 5 years. You're going to keep your car for 5 years, right? 5 years, 75,000 Ks, right? $2,512 for the Kia diesel. You buy a Hyundai diesel, same engine, same drivetrain, but just a different car, 5 years, 75,000 Ks. That's $1,875. That's $637 less for the same drivetrain.
Yep.
Petrol as well. So if you bought the Kia 1.6 Turbo Petrol, 5 years or 50,000 Ks, $2,465. Okay. Hyundai, $1,595 for the same amount of time. 5 years, 50,000 Ks. That's an $870
big difference. Yep.
difference, isn't it? So, bearing that in mind, any changes in your thoughts about the two cars, like running costs? What do you think?
I'll just address the first one, the diesel versus
versus
petrol. It's an interesting one. It feels to me a bit like swings and roundabouts because you've got the better fuel consumption on diesel, but you've got the higher price. It might just come down to however many kilometres you're doing, that sort of stuff.
Style,
so, yep. I mean, we quite often say, I think diesel, if you're doing more kilometres, you're probably going to get more value out of that than just running around the city. So for me, there's not a big difference. But yeah, I take the fact that the servicing costs, definitely, that's significantly different, right? So over the time, so people should factor that in.
Yeah, do your homework and check it out. Matt,
Yep.
what are your thoughts?
There's not much more I can add to that comprehensive analysis. It's a big difference in the baseline servicing costs, and it should be considered.
When you're looking at the two cars.
Cost of ownership is part of the maintenance as well, so just keep that in mind.
And it might be something you can consider when you're negotiating the price, right? Because that could be something you could get thrown in. You could, it's worth asking, right? But see if you can get it included.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't it? So that's right. So, okay. Finally, X Factor. All right, is X Factor is the thing that we look at. Is it the kind of car that you're going to look back when you park it or check out your reflection when you drive past? Between the two cars, what do you think, Matt? Which one has your vote for X Factor?
Just want to say I'm answering this without any preconceived script. That's on the fly, and I'm splitting hairs here because I was following the Sportage a little while when we were filming, and it just looks fantastic from every angle, the front, the back, the sides. It just really looks nice, elegant, sporty, aggressive, refined. I'll have to go with the Kia.
Yeah.
I have to say,
Even though that the there's an N-line sports version, I know you love your sporty sort of things in the car. So.
And I'm surprised because I thought I was going for the Hyundai before I came today, but just seeing it externally, the Kia just seems to have a nice everything.
Okay.
So votes on the Kia.
All right, Scott.
Well, Matt's wrong. So it is obviously a personal choice and everything. So, but I got to say, coming back to the two during the week when we're driving them at different times, I really quite like the front of the Hyundai. Really like that. It looks pretty aggressive and mean at the front.
You said the lights really got you, didn't
Yeah, the lights, they look very
daytime
impressive.
lights.
So, and again, this is just a personal opinion, right? Like I think everyone's going to, probably 50% of people are going to choose that and 50% of people are going to choose that. I think they're both good looking cars. But this one did tip it for me, so I definitely went the Hyundai.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. You're not sitting on a fence. That's pretty good.
No. I'm trying.
Breakthrough.
Okay, finally, last question. Which would you choose? Your money, okay, diesel or petrol, Sportage or Tucson? No, go.
My money's on the Sportage.
Okay.
It's an all-round, it's got a great drivetrain. Interior-wise, it's all the boxes ticked. Infotainment's great. Stereo's great, which is a big draw card for me, being in the car so much. My money's on the Sportage.
You'd buy the Sportage?
Yes.
Okay, diesel.
Diesel, as it is, exactly like that. Wrap it up.
Okay. Scott?
I'm walking into the dealership with Matt, and we're going to try and get a 2-for-1 deal and get the free servicing included as part of that negotiation. Because I'm doing the same. I'm coming and buying this one.
Yeah, I think we said in the original review, like value for money wise, like that's the key one in the range there. But nothing against the Tucson, and to be honest, like the servicing costs on the Tucson seem to be a bit cheaper than the Kia.
Yep.
So that's another thing to consider. They're both very good cars, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yes.
They absolutely are.
Anyway, just want to put a big thanks to our friends at Kia Australia and Hyundai Australia for the loan of the two cars this week. It's been interesting, isn't it? Even though that they're meant to be the same under the skin, they do come across as two different cars to
Yeah,
drive,
and with
don't
the
they?
amount of variance in these ranges, people should get out there and ask to test drive them. You know,
Yeah.
quickly on a weekend, go to Hyundai, go to Kia, test drive them against each other, because there are differences that are significant for some people.
I think either way, you're not going to get a bad car, is it? So-
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
Motors
100%.
in both.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, just want to put a big thanks out to everybody for all the views, the likes, the subscriptions, and plenty more to come, guys.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right. we'll see
Bye,
you later.
everyone.